All right. Oh, wait. Man. Some fix that problem. Well, no time like the present. Welcome, everyone, to another exciting week of OMEC, Osborne Motors Endurance Challenge. This stuff isn't right because, once again, despite me putting it in the system, it decides it wants to change it last second. So, let's try it again. Very quickly. There we go. All right. Welcome, everyone, to, I think, by far one of my most hip-fired episodes of the season. Our final race of the season. Oh, my gosh. We'll cut back to that here in a second. A heck of a race coming up for us. A 90-minute endurance race, last one of the season, to round out the series as a whole. Try and make sure I have a little bit better audio volume for the a little bit of the stream. Gonna bump it up a little bit. Ideally, so that way we can all hear the audio of the race cars. We're gonna have a wait for that blimp cam. So last week, a nail biter. This week, only more so as we get into the final set of championship points of the season, which I want to talk about those real quick after I talk about Circuit de la Sarthe, Le Mans, France, the oldest, I would say, home to endurance racing, Mulsanne Straight, and its lovely country roads that were used to prove how reliable motor cars were back in the early 1900s, and now a century later, coming up on its 100th year, just past its 100th year, of motorsports. Having at the lovely town of Le Mans. So, that's where we're racing today. GT3s and LMP2s in 3 classes. The LMP2 class in its own class. The GT3s split between a Pro and an AM class. Let me take a look at the points here as we hop on over. I'm looking right now at GT3 AM. We'll get back to them in a second. We're going to start up at the top with GT3 Pro. I'm also catching up on chat real quick. No rain. Yeah, unfortunately, we have rain tonight. GT3 Pro is going to be I'm going to have one of 3 really close battles to follow and a bunch of bigger ones to follow outside of that. And I didn't mention this in my write-up earlier, but I didn't mention this in my write-up earlier. The whole podium is within 7 points of each other. And I thought it was further than that, which is why I didn't put it in there. But it's only 8 points. So, with only 8 points separating the top 3 drivers, it's really anyone's game between Kevin Medina, Michael Doyen, and Andre Saba. I don't know why I said them in that order, because it's first one I said is in third, Michael Doyen's in first, and then Andre Saba is in second. And we'll get to some great on-track action here as these cars are flying through the Mulsanne chicanes. Michael Doyen at 590, Andre Saba at 588, and Kevin Medina at 583. Only difference being that 2 of them have had so 2 of them, Michael Doyen and Andre Saba, have been in for all 11 races, and Kevin Medina has been in for 9. Going further down the list, Olivier Ian Boulanger at 461. Fantastic start to the season. Had a bit of a scheduling issue. I had to remember closely. Jesse Olsen, Matthew Markley, Justin Hall, William Lemaster, Alex Arduin, Dion Tavar, and Jack Clark are the 11 drivers there that are in GT3 Pro. Hopping over to GT3 AM, however, we have an equally interesting podium situation going on here. Tom Leeson, Chris Wells, also separated by 2 points, 554 to 552. And not to really be discounted, I think, especially as Charles Rhodes has finished more races, one more specifically, but also has actually gotten more finishes, keeps him at 532. So getting a championship podium here, very possible if he keeps it clean. Richard Costanza, Chris Kraus rounding out that top 5. Each one of those drivers, I think, pretty much in a pretty consistent point battle with each other and the drop rounds. But we'll have to see how those play out. Adam Dahl, Jordan Oliver, Kyle Orbitz, Shane Brown, Landon Orr are the top 10. Wesley Waddell, Wesley Woods, Bob Lindell, Jason Scott and Ken Duvall are the other 15 drivers. Sorry, and Marcus Osborne round out the 16 drivers that are there. I have one GT3 that's not in either one, and I'm super curious where he falls into. We'll get to him later. Actually, I don't think we will get to him. Greg Kekadurian. We talked about him, I think, when I was last out here at Fuji. And we've not seen him since. LMP2. Another fascinating close points battle is going to be between Nick Terrell and Kevin Hayes. And I don't think I have seen Kevin Hayes take to the track or even register here. We're going to look at the qualifying results and take a look at qualifying here in just a moment. We have a little bit of time. I say a little bit. About halfway through open qualifying. We have another 15 minutes remaining. We'll get to that in a second. The battle between those two drivers, very intense. Kevin Hayes having already missed one race this season as a result of being out on his honeymoon, which I think, honestly, kind of have to pick the lesser. Remember, the better of two amazing things, and one is clearly the best. So don't blame him at all. But chance to try to retake the podium victory from Nick Terrell is very possible if he shows up within the next 15 minutes. Nate Sides, not to be discounted at 582, also with 11 races over Kevin Hayes' 10. And Nick Terrell, another 10 points behind Nathan Sides in 571. Kelvin Collado rounding out the top 5 there. Tyler Roberts, Ian Baker, Joseph Evers, Luke Plaisance, and Sean Roberts round out the top 10. And then it's and then it's Mitch Buenaventura, Tony Caicedo, there we go. Timothy Schaefer, Joshua Harless, Jason Larson, John Schwartz, Devin Adams, and one Fennicini, which again, I don't know how I got points. I wasn't in the race. I've been in the broadcast booth this whole time. 3 important battles, I think, to keep an eye on here tonight. And another thing to keep in mind, those team standings, assuming that we get them, and I have them right. I do. Mystery Inc. only 30 points ahead of Checkers or Wreckers. And I think it's going to be a battle of who has the more consistent finish, and especially with one driver not being here tonight for Checkers or Wreckers. I get the feeling we're going to see that gap continue. But only 19 points behind them is Project Zoomies. And I'm super curious how the drop rounds affect these guys going out of tonight, and if those two will swap their spots on the team podium. Veterans United, not far behind Michael Doyen and Richard Costanza at 1,065. Awful Sauce Motor Racing, Charles Rotes, Adam Dahl. Probably the last season we'll see of Awful Sauce as it currently stands before we maybe see a change-up in driver lineups as Charles Rotes has to step away from driving after the end of this race tonight. So it'll be a very sad, big farewell stream for him for a little while. Not forever, but for a while. B&B Racing is going to be in 6th there. Prestige Motorsports, Solara Motorsports, JT Racing, and Podium Hunters going to round out those top 10 teams of 10 teams. So, with that, also that is impossible to read unless you look at it. My notes for the night to Landon Orr. You can't read the little text underneath the team standings. But let's take a look at some qualifying times. Currently, Nick Terrell setting the best at a 4:15.81. We've had rain throughout this entire qualifying session, throughout all of the practice, which was a 30 minutes shorter practice as a result of server issues. But look at the grid here. We're going to pop open the real iRacing UI. If you take a look at that radar in the bottom left, you will see that we are just getting clear of some rain again. So we go hit the loop button, you're going to see it hopefully animate for me. Yeah. Coming across the track now. We'll see it eventually find its way off the track again, but it keeps them on wet tires and very spread out lap times as a result, as Nick Terrell is 3 seconds ahead of Nate Sides, who's 2 seconds ahead of Patrick Cantrell, who is 2 seconds ahead of Joe Evers. Joe Evers having the slowest lap time of those who have set lap times in LMP2s, but still 2 seconds ahead of Michael Doyen, who currently holds the provisional podium for GT3 Pro. And he is one of 4 drivers in GT3 Pro that have set a lap time. Kevin Medina in 2nd, Matthew Markley in 3rd, and then Andre Saba in 4th. Then we get to the GT3 AMs. Tom Leeson in 3rd there. Aaron Claybaugh going to be starting off that podium, a driver we've seen in previous seasons, his first time out this season with us. Richard Costanza having a great race start so far here, getting a good lap in. Much closer podium fight, or I guess podium fight for the race here between these two drivers, Aaron Claybaugh and Richard Costanza, only separated by a 10th and some change, and then less than a 10th between himself and Kevin Medina. And then we get a little bit further back, Tom Leeson having to find 2 seconds there. Matt Markley, another 5 seconds back from Tom Leeson's time. Charles Rotes only a few hundredths back from there. And then Andre Saba right behind Charles Rotes alongside Adam Dahl. And we have about, I almost say 10 more drivers that have yet to set a lap time. Tyler Roberts, Ken Duvall, Kenny D, Kelvin Collado, Sean Roberts, Tim Schaefer, Mitch Ventura, Landon Orr, Jason Larson, Chris Wells, and Chris Kraus all have yet to set lap times. So, with this, I have to figure out what I can do here. Could I get someone in chat, if we have someone in chat that is willing to look at these things for me, to tell me if they hear the cars a little bit better this time around? All right. You can see the racing line here. I know I'm looking and waiting for chat to tell me that it's either good or not good. But as I wait and I have yet to be heard or told that it's good or not good, I am going to see real quick. Oh, nope. That's a spinner for Kevin Medina, who has dethroned Michael Doyen for the lead of GT3 Pro. And I have to say, racing here is such a unique beast, even in the dry and even more so in the wet. I think I've turned it up a little too loud now, but we'll see. As you know, what you usually expect to do, and hey, there's a lot of times where you want to take the racing line that involves a little bit of running over the paint that is at parts of this track, and there are times where you simply cannot do it in the rain, because otherwise you will lock up a tire, it'll lose traction, and the traction control tries to recover, but doesn't do so in a successful way. So, keeping up with a few drivers, Nick Terrell really throwing that LMP2 around. Joe Evers trying to find his way past Michael Doyen in that Porsche GT3 car. See what else I can see from here. Oh my gosh, the dynamic cam, really unique look today as it tries to figure out what it wants to show or not show. I don't think we'll be using a lot of the farther back cameras today. Probably a good number of onboards. Let's take, speaking of onboards, who's coming on the end of a lap here that I can talk to about driving through. I'll see if Nate Sides wants to take us through another one. We'll hop on this roll bar here, and you can ride along board as we get done. This is one of the longest laps we have of the season. Turn number one is such a sweeping right-hander. Usually you're on the throttle a lot more because of the rain. You're off throttle. You're going to take a very shallow line in this rain, going through the first chicane here, the Dunlop chicane before the Dunlop Bridge, which is that big old tire-looking thing there. We go into the S's here afterwards. Again, you're usually on throttle so much more in these LMP2s, but you're not going to be with the rain conditions. You can see the standing water on the inside of the curves. You want to try to keep off of them for most of the lap as a result, because otherwise the traction control just kicks you out. We get into, I have to go pull up my track map to make sure I have the right ones. But on to Mulsanne as I'm going and hunting for those. And that will be a very long straight way back in the day. I say way back in the day, up until the 80s, I think it was, or 1990s. It used to be a straight run from Curve Paul, not part of Curve Paul Frere. I'm failing my numbies. Let's see. First chicane, done and dusted. On to the second chicane. There are two of them. Tetra Rouge is going to be that one. The second Mulsanne chicane. And you're right on the limit of grip, especially with the rain pushing these cars to the absolute limit. It's almost like sliding through these corners more than taking them correctly. So, on to the last portion of the Mulsanne straight before Mulsanne corner, which nowadays involves a roundabout. Back in the day, it was just a little four-way stop. You see, deep into the corner because the braking did not happen correctly as a result of the rain. Keeps it out of the gravel trap, which means it probably is still fine. And on the run up to Indianapolis, a pair of corners followed with Indianapolis, followed by Arnage. Thank you. We'll see the drivers get through the back half of the lap. The fastest technical section of this racetrack is right here, where you get to the highest top speed from my knowledge and understanding. Early on the brakes here, usually you brake right about here for the LMP2s when you're in the dry. But with the rain, you want to brake early, and so you don't make this 90-degree or just more than 90 degree on this fancy, very cambered corner. And then followed by Arnage, which is just such a slow one, especially in the wet. And then you're going to push out onto the run up to the Porsche curves. First in a 3 set of curves and chicanes that involve everything from winding sweepers to intense chicanes to round out a lap. Once again, early on the brakes, going to be very hard and tricky to pass here, especially in the raining conditions. So meeting a GT3 in the Porsche curves is going to be very detrimental, especially as we get into lap traffic throughout most of this race. Oh my goodness. And then you're into Corvette curves. First two are the Porsche curves. Second set are the Corvette curves. Let's see Tom Leeson almost lose that rear end there on the exit. Nate Sides sliding by before getting set up for the Ford chicanes, a pair of chicanes that will lead you back down to the start-finish line and through a lap. And you want to take a little bit of curbing here, a little bit of curbing there, but not too much. And you got to be very smooth with your inputs because of how slow you're going here. You can get onto the curbing here, but you want to be very careful on the exit of the curbing because you can see there it's going to just pull him towards that gravel trap. And you see how much Nate Sides had to fight that car to keep it going the right way as he gets a lap done here. Speaking of Tom Leeson, let's ride alongside our current podium standing. Well, never mind. We're not going to do that right now. Who's coming close to a lap start in the GT3 category that we can hop along and ride along with for a lap around the LMP or with the GT3s? I'm going to see if Charles Rhodes is doing another. We'll hop along board with him on his final race of the season. Porsche GT3s. Oh, that's going to be so deep into this corner. That definitely is not going to be the way you want to take that. All right, we'll hop on board, I think, with one of our GT3 members who's hopping on soon. Coming around the start-finish straight soon, I should say. Chris Kraus also diving in. Only 4 drivers now having not set a lap time. Ken Duvall, Sean Roberts, Chris Kraus, and Wesley Woods. With Wesley Woods just coming around the start-finish line, we'll see if he gets one in. We will ride along board with him. He's going to take his first flyer here. And we'll see how this lap goes. Again, so off throttle throughout a lot of this section in the GT3s. A little bit more so when you're in the dry. But you have to try to keep the traction underneath you in these GT3 machines. And that's so hard to do with the rain, especially with how consistent it is. You can see how slick that race, that there's no real racing line that is developed here. You have a couple of spots where they've got heat into the braking zone, so it's a little bit drier, but you can still see that sheen coming across as the trees get kind of modeled into the ground. Oh, man. So slow through this section. Going to be very hard for GT or LMP2s to get past these GT3s. And we're on to Mulsanne after we get out of Tetra Rouge, which is that corner right before Mulsanne. One of the sketchiest places, I think, on the racetrack is Mulsanne Straight in a GT3 in the rain. But I could be maybe a little biased, I suppose, about that. And coming down, you really want to straddle the middle with a GT3 because they have the height clearance to where that really almost benefits, but that's way too late on the brakes. Wesley Woods is going to have to cut through the Mulsanne chicane gravel trap that'll invalidate his lap time. We'll keep riding along board with him. Think about hopping out, but we'll just keep going on with his lap with him. You want to kind of straddle the center line of because there's a little bit of a curve on this road because it's a public road, 9/10 of the year, minus this one racing weekend in real life or whenever they decide to go racing and iRacing on it. So you want to take that center line. Oh, it's still late on the braking. Oh, too late on. Oh, better this time. Gets the rotation in. Gotta really slow it down. You want to, again, you almost want to slide it through some of these slower corners in order to maximize the time. See the early shifts there to get the car settled. He's fighting that paint. I remember talking about it earlier, but it is something I still say is such a true statement about this is the paint is a dangerous thing to be on in the race on a wet track. Breaks it down all the way to first gear for Mulsanne corner. Gets on the acceleration out of it. We'll see him work his way around. The session will draw to a close amongst this as we're looking at it. And we'll see a few drivers make their way over to the start-finish line. And then we will go down, give a rundown of your grid for the 90-minute endurance race to round out Season 12 of Osborne Motors Endurance Challenge. Slow line through here, but he's going to keep it going. He's going to try to see if he can't make this lap time work for him. Actually, I think he will probably stop here. Well, we'll see what happens. See if he can get a lap in at least. Chris Kraus is able to get one in, puts himself into 6th in class. Really late on that off-throttle braking, engine braking, as well as a little bit of brake there. Oh, and he's going to collect that barrier just a little bit. You could see it when he tried to make that turn, and that car just skidded across the wet track. And you get through the Porsche curves, Corvette curves. Like I talked about earlier with the LMP2, still also applies here. The racing line very much not very defined here, so the ability to use any curving is oftentimes detrimental. Plus, trying to accelerate on the painted stuff is not great either. See him fighting this car, getting through the Ford chicanes to round out a lap, but is able to do so. Give you an idea of what the onboards will look like. I'm sure we'll probably hop on a few of those as Wesley gets that car across the line to wrap up his lap around Le Mans. And we'll take a look with don't mean to flashbang you with that, but to get the lap done with Matt Markley, who may or may not be able to get one in before the end of qualifying. Nick Terrell also trying to get one final lap in to try to see if he can reclaim the top spot of the podium that Mitch Buenaventura beat him out by 2 seconds. And look how slow they're rolling through Arnage, and that is just because of how treacherous that corner is, even on a good day. Almost lost it. Speaking of last time I was at Le Mans, I was in an GTP. Was it the Acura? Or the Porsche? No, it was the Porsche. The Porsche GTP. Matt Markley flicking the car left and right. After watching him get through a lap. And so sketchy to get through that corner, even in the dry on a GTP, as it is to do in any of these cars in the wet for the Global Endurance Tour's 24-hour series that is happening this season in iRacing. And we quite handily, through just entirely consistency, took home a win there overall, as well as in class. See Matthew Markley not really setting any fast lap times. I think he's on his in lap. Yep, you see him coming into the pit box here. Nick Terrell done with his lap. And we'll see Matthew Markley bring it down to pit road, so that way we can see whether or not he, or how far, what our order looks like. There we go. That's the English words I'm looking for. So, we're going to have 90 minutes of racing. I don't think we're going to have a competition caution, a yellow flag, any of those things. We'll have to see. Wesley Woods, I think he's trying again. See if he can get a lap time in. We are, nope, never mind. Nope, we're back. He's still going. He's doing his best. He's trying. We'll have to see here whether or not he is able to get a lap in before the end of qualifying. We are running, it's going to be a very interesting, we're running long on qualifying, so that way Wesley Woods can get a lap time in. One of 3 drivers to not set a lap time alongside Ken Duvall and Sean Roberts. And coming out of Arnage, the chance Wesley Woods been waiting for to get this done. As we get through the end of qualifying, 6 minutes later. Blimp 2, blimp, yep. Random. Flipping around a couple of cameras here to see what my options are. And before he can finish his lap, Wesley Woods is denied his opportunity to get a lap time in and get himself up the grid order at all. And so, with that, we have a grid. And that grid is going to be Mitch Buenaventura is going to line up on front of LMP2 alongside Nick Terrell, Kelvin Collado alongside Nate Sides in row number 2. Tyler Roberts and Patrick Cantrell. The Project Zoomies team is going to take up row number 3. Joe Evers, Tim Schaefer in row number 4. I have them a little further down the order, but I also have Jason Larson and Sean Roberts, who are going to be on the last 2 spots of that LMP2 podium. At least I think they are. And if I hit the buttons again, okay. Michael Doyen and Kevin Medina is going to be... Oh, wait. Yes. Cool. That changed nothing. Great. I don't know why I did that. But hey, it is what it is. Michael Doyen and Kevin Medina going to duke it out on the front row of GT3 Pro. Aaron Claybaugh in GT3 AM is going to be right behind them, followed up by Richard Costanza as well as Andre Saba in 13th and 14th overall. Probably going to be 4th and 5th, if I remember correctly, for GT3 Pro, because GT3 is all put together despite their class separation. And we're going to see the likes of Tom Leeson, Adam Dahl are going to duke it out in the probably fourth row of GT3. Landon Orr, Matt Markley, Chris Kraus, Chris Wells, Charles Rhodes, Ken Duvall, and Wesley Woods are the 24 drivers that have been labeled as going to be racing here at Le Mans here in just a moment's time. All of these drivers going to start rolling here soon. Michael Doyen coming up on the radio. Let's probably wish everyone well and let everyone know the spacing they're probably going to be carrying alongside the LMP2 drivers are going to have to separate themselves from the GT3 pack, I think. I don't know. There are two LMP3s or LMP2s floating around the GT3s as they roll away and get ready to start going racing. Pace car brought to you by the Porsche pace car, which has fantastic grip in the wet somehow. I don't know how. So all right. Getting set to go racing here in just a moment's time. I am racking my brain as to who I think comes out on top of all this. I got the feeling it's probably going to be whoever we see make their moves later on in the race and have the consistency to back them up once we get rolling here. So I'm not going to make any predictions. I don't think predictions are going to do me any favors. The French fly overhead in their fancy planes as the LMP2s come down to the start-finish line here in just a moment's time. Oh, well, I was going to do a cool thing, but I will wait. As Mitch Bonaventura is going to lead off the LMP2s once we hit the green for racing. And the green flag waves, those red lights turn on for us. And they are live. All 8 drivers there have started. We're going to jump back to the GT3s, which have already started back here in the Ford chicanes. It's going to be an interesting start. Michael Doyen leading off Kevin Medina, both of them ahead of Jason Larson, who is going to separate the front 2 from the back 2 of GT3. Should be interesting and sets up a very early bit of challenge for both Andre Saba as well as Kevin Medina. But Andre Saba has a fantastic launch to jump up 2 positions. And we're going to see Jason Larson run real wide here and push Kevin Medina out, unfortunately, which is going to make for a, I think, pretty interesting set going up into this as Jason Larson still continues to create almost a sort of roadblock. Patrick Gantrell also meanwhile in LMP2 has gotten around Tyler Roberts. I'm taking a look at all these drivers. Nick Terrell trying desperately, Nate Sides trying to get around Kelvin Collado as they try to find a little bit of air amongst the fog and mist that is, oh my gosh. Oh, Nick Terrell way late on the brakes, locks them up. One of a few drivers that is unable to make that turn. Another one being Kelvin Collado, Nate Sides, Joe Evers also going to take that runoff. All going to have slow down penalties to serve. Mitch Bonaventura narrowly avoiding it. Nate Sides just going to drive off and says he'll figure it out later. These drivers all just kind of figuring out where they're going as a result. I think Nick Terrell going to bleed off his cut, able to do so successfully. I'm going to jump back to the GT3s. Oh, maybe. I was going to see if he's holding on to it. He is. Jason Larson able to get around the GT3 field. Meanwhile, outside of the top 3, Michael Doyen, Kevin Medina, Andre Saba, Sean Roberts now creating kind of a barrier between them and the rest of the GT3 field, which is running too wide. Some sections of it. You see Chris Krause there alongside Richard Costanza. You see Adam Dahl currently sitting up in second. Nate Sides labeled as crashed. Is that the case? Amongst other drivers, such as a crabbing Mitch Buenaventura, who has a Nick Terrell, who has a meatball for that front end that you see right there. I need to see what happened here. Nick Terrell labeled as off track. We'll start here and we'll work our way forward for the moment. Gets off of his own accord. Oh, that's unfortunate. Is that the same for Mitch Buenaventura and everyone else? Let's see. Mitch Buenaventura, who is leading the race at this point. Oh, another also same thing. And then we'll see him, Nick Terrell, our race leader, or our championship leader, as well as Kelvin Collado. Well, not Kelvin, excuse me. And then Nate Sides narrowly keeps it together. And then we see Tim Schaefer there in the background having the similar issue. Nick Terrell trying to hold this car together without a front wing or a front clip of any kind. Has that meatball flag to worry about. Charles Rotes also going off track. Able to come back on track. I'm trying to see what happened there. Oh, another too late, too deep into the braking. That car looks brutal. We keep coming back to it. The leaders of LMP2 separated by a little over a second, as Patrick Cantrell having the most consistent drive. I almost spoke too soon as he nearly lost control of that car. Some fast hands keep it going the right direction, but he's going to lose a little bit of time to Mitch Buenaventura, who's going to try to make a look into the Ford chicanes. Chooses not to, but now has to figure out how to get around him after turn number 1. Oh, man, these cars look so sketchy out of the Ford chicane, and Mitch Buenaventura is right behind Patrick Cantrell. I think Patrick Cantrell is going to let him by. It's going to be my guess. Nope. Not going to let him by. See how this works out. Nick Terrell going to dive in early to get that repair done. We have 2 fast repairs, I believe, on offer for these drivers in terms of pit lane strategy amongst the fuel and tires. Full fuel for these drivers, so usually a 1 stop alongside some tires for each of them. Oh, man. And he's going to probably put him, unfortunately, I think a little ways down the order. He's finally getting that car into pit lane, slow pit lane speed, so long pit lane travel time as well. Sean Roberts trying to get around the rest of GT3 and is working his way up the order. Mitch Buenaventura, Patrick Cantrell going too wide. Patrick Cantrell getting the slower exit out of Tetra Rouge. He's going to see him try to find his braking point, come up for air, work his way back down. Well, just behind him, Joe Evers going to get passed by Nate Sides as well. Joe Evers up 3 positions, as well as this see Patrick Cantrell up 4. Diving into that is a stopped Kevin Medina. Let's see what happened here. We're coming into Tetra Rouge for Kevin Medina. Oh, this is going to be, I think, pretty brutal. And gets onto, I think that is too much slip angle. That is not a slip angle that we can recover even in the wet. Oh, and we're going to have to change our cameras here. Oh, big chunk. Big crunch. There we go. Big crunch into the tire, or really just a Armco metal barrier. Not super kind on the car. And then he jumps to pits. So we'll see him rejoin the track in a little way. Oh, God, almost took out another car with him. Sean Roberts getting around Michael Doyen finally. And we're going to see these two spread apart. Chris Wells, Landon Orr ending up the battle to keep an eye on at the moment. 3/10 separate these two drivers as we see Nick Terrell work his way through also. Matt Markley, as well as Chris Krause, I think are pretty close into a fight. That is the case. As these two drivers find their way out of the second Mulsanne chicane. Big old splash of water as they go too wide. Matt Markley having a worse exit out of the second Mulsanne chicane. Oh my goodness, this is going to be a sketchy one. Going too wide in the rain, going into Mulsanne corner. Markley cuts behind to try to get into the braking zone correctly. Oh, they both get him stopped. Oh, good stuff. All three of them, Richard Costanza right behind them now as a result. Mitch Buenaventura labeled as crashed. Is that? I don't think that's real. It doesn't look real because he's still driving the right way. So, diving back to that battle because that wasn't real. The rest of the fights between most of the drivers in LMP2, unfortunately, pretty spread out already. What isn't spread out, Chris Kraus, Matt Markley, Nick Terrell, Richard Costanza, all within about a second and a half of each other. And, remove Nick Terrell, who came in early to repair damage. Tom Leeson, way off in the background, keeps it together. Thank goodness. We'll see all them as well. Just the fight to keep an eye on as Nick Terrell tries to work his way around. The LMP2s feel so much slower, especially in the wet, than they do in the dry. So it's wouldn't say insanely, but much harder for these LMP2 drivers to get a solid lap time. And Mitch Buenaventura getting a 4:18, 3 seconds ahead of Patrick Cantrell as we're looking at the LMP2 timings that are coming in as they cross the line. And just a little further back, Adam Dahl, Wesley Woods getting into it as oh my gosh, as these drivers find good times in. Tyler Roberts getting the fastest lap of the race as well with a 4:16.26. Take a look here as he's slowly closing in on Kelvin Collado in Tetra Rouge. Probably a battle we'll be looking at here in a little while. Aaron Claybaugh and Michael Doyen for GT3 Pro and Am overall. Which why we're seeing them ahead of GT3 Pro, I think it's maybe because they have the fastest lap time and they have a faster lap time. But I'm not sure. I don't really know. So these two duking it out for points in overall. Two Porsche drivers. Porsche is such a good car in the wet. The only rear engine GT3. And I think it shows, though, heck, that was a big old slide out of Tetra Rouge for Aaron Claybaugh. Keeps it together in that 655 Porsche. And a heck of a start to this race as we get into the first 10 minutes being completed. Nick Terrell slowly working his way through the rest of the field as the process. Kelvin Collado under fire from Tyler Roberts, but Tyler Roberts going way deep into that, probably trying not to run into Tyler Roberts. Wesley Woods trying to duke it out with Adam Dahl. Both, I think, getting on the radio to talk to each other about something that happened just now. They're going to run too wide through the first part of the Mulsanne straight. Oh my God, it's who's lights on the brakes. Adam Dahl getting the job mostly done, but he's going to have to leave a little bit of room. Finally thinks he's clear enough to get in front. We'll see that pass get done and completed. But that now means that Wesley Woods has the draft. Andre Saba now listed as crashed. Let's see what happened there as we come into the second Mulsanne chicane. And Tim Schaefer also being labeled as crashed or disconnected. Trying to figure out how oh, look at that slip angle. Late on the brakes. Too much rotation. You can see it slide out from under him. Just the smallest of... doesn't even put it into the tire barrier. Catches it. And then gets it back going again. We'll see that car rejoin and keep up the effort. Still in second in GT3 Pro because there's only 4 drivers in GT3 Pro. And Kevin Medina is finally coming out after having to tow to pit lane from his incident, who is our other third podium finisher. Now, if he ends up all the way down here at the end of GT3, it's going to end up probably being a drop week for him. LMP2s really spread out. GT3s, I'm going to try to keep up with the battles that exist, which are going to be between Michael Doyen and Aaron Claybaugh, as well as Wesley Woods and Adam Dahl. And Sean Roberts trying to continue his lead ahead of, or getting passed by, Nick Terrell, who's on a tear to try to reclaim the top spot. Meanwhile, Mitch Bonaventura is setting the fastest lap time in class once again. So, with that, Tyler Roberts diving into pit lane. I wonder if he has damage. Or Tyler Roberts did go off on track, off track. Oh, that's a big old slide. Oh, bit of a crunch there, but the tire barrier seemed to absorb a lot of that impact. Oh, that one less so. So that probably is why he came into pit lane, was to get that done and get that repaired so he can get back out there and keep racing. Aaron Claybaugh really applying the pressure on Michael Doyen for GT3 overall, which is really interesting that he is being listed as an AM driver. But we'll see. Great exit out of here for Aaron Claybaugh. Probably see him end up taking over the race lead. If they keep it all moving the right direction. We've got to see here. Going into the braking zone. Michael Doyen right behind him as they come through the Dunlop chicane. Tyler Roberts right behind them. Richard Costanda and Kenny Duval also going to be duking it out for P2 and P3 in class. Oh, Kenny Duval, one of the few drivers not to set a lap time in qualifying. Interesting to see how he's managing in the race. Tom Leeson, labeled as crashed. We have a couple more floating around. We were just ahead of this driver as he was working his way through. I'm watching along with those two drivers. He was right behind them. What happens here? Slip angle, really heavy. Just hits the curbing and then has to try to do damage control. Narrowly avoids running into the two drivers that we saw. I don't know how we didn't see this. But keeps it out of the wall. Great driving, great control there. Great smooth hands, keep it steady. Mitch Bonaventura. Once again, I'm super curious as to what happens, why Mitch Bonaventura is labeled as crashed. He just because he parks it? Is this corner that just they think he goes slow enough to where it gets labeled as crashed? Oh no, he does absolutely go off though. All right, well, Kelvin Collado, Nate Sides, working on things there. Chris Kraus now labeled as crashed. Let's take a look at this. Going into the first Mulsanne chicane after his battle with Chris Wells. Oh, too much slip angle, too much trail braking in the wet. Causes him to 360 it. Keeps it going the right way, but allows Chris Wells to get through as would not impede his race. But we'll slip in behind, get a little bit of the benefit of the draft, get going again. And keeps that car going the right way. These two now are going to be in a heated fight as a result of Chris Kraus getting that draft throughout the first section of the Mulsanne chicane. Now we're running up into the second section. Chris Wells gonna block off the corner, take the racing line that allows him the most grip, which is unfortunately in the center. I say unfortunately for Chris Kraus is in the center. And then Chris Kraus is gonna flare back out to the left-hand side of the driver, right-hand side on our screen. Keep it moving the right direction. Too wide into Mulsanne corner. This is going to be sketchy. We've done it before. Chris Wells sliding in behind Chris Kraus. They are swapping stories here. That's really late on the brakes. Locks it up. Keeps it out of harm's way. Chris Wells follows him right through. So these two still going to be duking it out as they come down to Indianapolis corner. Keeping it a larger picture update. Every battle outside of this on the track now separated by seconds. So we'll keep up with these two for the moment until I get a feeling we see some more action floating around, or I want to talk about the top fives in every category. Oh, these two drivers barely keeping their cars together at various points, but able to do so pretty consistently. Yeah, we're seeing, those cars fishtailing. I guess I'm now at the spot. Kelvin Collado and Patrick Cantrell will keep up with these drivers for a moment while I talk about things. Let's get it on board. See what we saw a little bit earlier at the beginning of the race. I want to see what it looks like now. We're kind of calmed down a little bit. Patrick Cantrell getting way off to the side there. That's going to be a slowdown for him as well. But one he'll probably bleed off pretty easily as a result of just driving in the rain. And something to keep in mind that I find super interesting in rain racing is the difficulty you have, especially when we look at, if I hop over to our weather map, the ability to predict rain. Kelvin Collado spinning in front of Patrick Cantrell amongst all of this. Gets that car going the right direction again, though. Another thing that I find really interesting is that these models used to have number boards, and they've gone back to having position dots instead of number boards when they did the update to make them look like they're more current counterparts, like the current regulations, which I find fascinating because in IMSA they still have number boards, but they don't here on the sim. I'm trying to figure out why that is. Anyway, queuing up with these drivers, trying to figure out what's happening here. Sean Roberts labeled as crashed amongst all this. We'll take a look. I think it's might be a little bit of too much energy going into the S's. Oh, plus braking on that white line. Oh, a little bit of damage there initially, and then a bigger crunch against that wall. Kelvin Collado struggling with keeping that car going in the right direction. Everybody separated by seconds. Consistency is going to get them everywhere, such as Charles Rotes keeping his car going in the right direction to slowly be gaining time on Landon Orr. Wesley Woods also joining those labeled as crashed. Oh my gosh, that's such a risk. I mean, if you know it works, you can do it. It's always so sketchy to me to try to put too much pressure or power down on the curbing that we see here. These drivers now floating into 2 seconds. Chris Wells, Chris Kraus swapped once again as Chris Kraus has to work his way through the tire barrier. Struggling with this first chicane, Chris Kraus seems to be. Now is the time to talk about strategy. Because I think that's where we're at with this race and looking at what happens in the long-term big picture stuff. Every driver currently separated by over a second to the driver before or behind them. Take a look at Chris Kraus, but we can look at other drivers as well while we go through this. Dynamic Cam, no, not the one. Static TV, also no. TV one. We are 21 minutes into the race. We have an hour and 30 total. The pit window for drivers will open up in about 20 minutes time. Sorry, 10 minutes time for GT3s, about 20 minutes time for GT or LMP2s. Now, The LMP2s have to make it to the 45-minute mark to make it a one-stopper and not have to require a splash of fuel at the end. Mitch Ventura, 12 seconds ahead of Nate Sides, just on an island, racing away on his own. Nate Sides keeping it together, but losing a little bit of time, and now is a second and a half ahead and closing down rapidly as Patrick Cantrell is hot on his heels. Aaron Claybaugh, labeled as crashed. Before getting it fixed, Kenny Duvall also labeled as crashed. Let's take a look at a couple of these here. As we watch these two go into the braking zone of the Mulsanne corner, Nate Sides picks the defensive line, gets that car hooked in. Oh, this is going to be a bit of a rough one. Let's take a look here. Aaron Claybaugh had been leading GT3 overall, coming out of the Corvette curves and going into the Ford chicanes at the end of the lap. Oh, just taking too much curb, gets that car spun around. You're going to see Michael Doyen in the bottom there work his way around. Andre Saba is just a couple seconds now at the end of this. And after all of that, Chris Kraus, Chris Wells, still duking it out with each other for P5. Yep, there we go. P5 in GT3 AM. Michael Doyen leads GT3 Pro ahead of Aaron Claybaugh and Andre Saba. Let's see what happened to Kenny Duvall amongst all this. Let's see what happened to him as he comes around the... Oh, this is a Porsche curves. There's some gravel on there, and that is what causes that car to just lose all of its energy. Richard Costanza getting through unscathed. Oh, but that's going to be a 15-point turn there. Backs it up. Keeps it out of harm's way. It's going to be sketchy here. I want to make sure, see if he gets going again or not. It's labeled like he's driving, so he does get that car moving again. And then Matt Markley is going to have a similar issue here. Oh, that's the first of, I think, two. Amongst all this, Matt Markley blowing, I wouldn't say blowing, well, man, technically it's correct, blowing the braking marker and just totally missing it. Gets it stopped, gets it going again, and then jumps to pits. What happens here? Oh, no, he just parks it. Okay. With that, and a second separating Nate Sides and Patrick Cantrell. The fight to watch is these two drivers at the moment. Closest battle on track. Not far behind either is Kelvin Collado. You saw him in the background there. You'll see more of him in a bit. Landon Orr also having a crash amongst all this. As we watch, he comes through the Ford banner here. Oh, that's going to be too much paint, and that is going to be a very crunched, unhappy car. Spins it around, keeps it going. He's going to probably pull it into pit lane here. Yeah. Oh, wow. You see Charles Rotes having a very similar issue. That's going to be a very interesting one there for Charles Rotes. Gets it going again. Nick Terrell labeled as crashed amongst all this as well. And then I got two more to show you guys. Coming into Indianapolis is going to be this one. Oh, just locks up the brakes. And brakes backwards, pulls it forwards. Gets it going again. And then Landon Orr coming into, after just repairing this car, coming into the S curves. Oh, just loses it ever so slowly. And then pulls it forward. keeps it going. Sean Roberts, similar situation in Indianapolis by the looks of it. But too much, I think, turning. Oh, man, I don't know. That's hard to tell. Arnage, maybe? Oh, there's that touch. Oh, yep, touching the curbing. Trying to get the car stopped. Seems to have done so. Yep. Pace was never an option. Aaron Claybaugh diving into pit lane after his incident. Sean Roberts also jumping to pit lane. After that. Amongst all this, Nate Sides, Patrick Cantrell still sitting a second apart from each other as we get to the 30-minute mark in just a couple minutes' time. Yeah, Nate Sides. Now, under a second between him and Patrick Cantrell, who we're looking along with. Let's see how that continues, if it does. Chris Wells, Chris Kraus, going to be passing Aaron Claybaugh, who's dived into pit lane to get, I think, something repaired there. Tom Leeson also diving in to get his pit out of the way. I think we're getting into the pit cycle or the pit window for the GT3 cars as we are about that hour mark before we hit the second or the middle third of the race. Kelvin Collado also catching up time here between himself and Patrick Cantrell. And these three cars now only separated by 2 seconds. Can I see, if I look out the back of this car, do I see anything other than spray? I see nothing other than spray. So, I can see stuff there, but if I do this back here, you can see some of the cars in front of us. Nope. All right. Taking a look back further. Keeping up with all the drivers that are, all three of these drivers within a second of each other. The interesting point of all this, Landon Orr still in pit lane. Rest of the drivers out and over a second apart from each other. Kelvin Collado sitting the fastest lap of the race. This racetrack seems to be getting faster the further we go along. I want to take a quick look on the real life radar. Nope, still plenty of rain. So don't know where it's getting faster from as more rain continues to hit the track. And we look at these drivers as they continue their battles for various positions. Further back, Charles Rotes, and I think is just ahead of Wesley Woods at this point after his 360 over the Ford chicanes. So a 2 second gap there. It's definitely going to be an interesting bit of, let me see. Interesting piece of planning for our LMP2 drivers. It should be okay, especially because of the rain. They end up using less fuel instead of more. But I'm still curious as to how it gets done. Nick Terrell labeled as crashed. I'm trying to figure out what happened here. Kind of looks like he maybe got on the curbing too much. Yep. Oh, just a big splash of water as those wheels just hydroplane on it. And then you'll see that car work its way through all this. And Wesley Woods, Charles Rotes, and also Aaron Claybaugh to a lesser extent, all within a few seconds of each other, trying to keep an eye on a couple other battles developing, namely Nate Sides, Patrick Cantrell, and Kelvin Collado, still within a couple seconds of each other. Wesley Woods trying to find the way around Charles Rhodes as this battle comes down to within just a second of each other. Oh, Charles Rhodes running a slower line throughout the Porsche curves to keep that car planted and going the right direction. Wesley Woods capitalize on it, getting a lot of time. Charles Rhodes all over the place. Off the racing line and off the rhythm. We'll see him slow way down coming out of the Corvette curves and on towards the Ford chicanes. And that will continue. Oh my gosh, the shakiness of that car, trying to keep that car going the right direction. Wesley Woods finding his way by as Charles keeps that car together. A little further ways up, Chris Kraus and Aaron Claybaugh also about to get into a fight as Aaron Claybaugh keeps setting ridiculous, I wouldn't say ridiculously fast, but much faster lap times than the rest of the class that he is technically fighting for position here, as he has come in to do his pit stop after that incident he had a few laps ago. Chris Kraus having a moment there. Let's see what happened. Going into... Oh, no. Excuse me. Wrong one. Second of a pair of spins, it seems like. Oh, just too much angle and to not let it ride enough. And take a look as well. Wesley Woods labeled as crashed. Before I hop back onto some action here. Oh, just in the grass for the braking zone. Slowest of spins. Puts the gas on too. Try to get the car out of the way. Able to do so. This battle, I would say, battle between Nate Sides, Patrick Cantrell, and Kelvin Collado is still within a couple seconds of each other. Still duking it out as we reach the 35-minute marker. 10 minutes away from the halfway point, and half of this race has been completed. 3 drivers battling it out for the bottom 2 steps of the podium. Mitch Buenaventura resetting the fastest lap, his most recent time by, with a 1:14.01. Very much a commanding drive, almost on his own as a result. Trying to keep an eye. This battle between these 2 drivers now dialing in to less than a second, especially as Nate Sides continues to fight that car, and both Patrick Cantrell and Kelvin Collado get great runs out of the second Mulsanne chicane. 6/10 between Nate Sides, Patrick Cantrell, down to 5.5 tenths. Oh, that sounded less than good. Patrick Cantrell further off. What happened here? Oh, went off of his own accord. Did not look pushed, thankfully. Starting to wonder if that was the case. That breaks up that fight just a little bit. Ken Duvall going to dive into pit lane for his first stop of the evening. What should be his only stop. He should be set from here to the end of the race to just fill up on some fuel, some fresh tires, and keep on moving on. Trying to do some math here in my head. What the plan is, how many laps these drivers have to do on their second stint in order to get it done for the day. Currently sitting on race lap 9. Mitch Bonaventura about to come down the start-finish stretch ahead of these drivers. We'll see that turn into race lap 10. And I have to imagine with 4-minute 14 laps, which I think is about almost a minute slower, not quite, but a solid while slower, that we'll see the race go for, another 15 laps at 4 minutes a lap. Kelvin Collado now within a few tenths of Nate Sides. Nate Sides running real wide off into the grass. Going to see him pull that car back around to get it back going the right direction. Kelvin Collado going to climb up to the top step. Climb up to the middle step of the podium. Top step of these three drivers who are now back within a couple seconds of each other. Patrick Cantrell refining his pace after the spin he had earlier. Locking it up into Mulsanne corner. Tim Schaefer, Tyler Roberts, I think. Nope, not quite. I thought it was closer than it was. Unrelated to racing, but for a brief moment, because I was curious about it, and I was trying to figure out what was happening in my house. My partner and her daughter are playing Terraria, and the thudding I was hearing, which was like a nice little rapid, is them placing blocks in the game. So, if you hear that in the background, that's what's happening. I'm sorry. But, talking about racing. We looked along with Tyler Roberts, trying to figure out if Tim Schaefer was in fact in a battle with him. The answer is no. He is not. Jason Larson, however, slowly getting caught up to by Nick Terrell, and this is going to be for position. Unfortunate thing is that Nick Terrell is not in the race. I wouldn't say the race cycle. Not on the pit strategy to perform a one-stop as we get into the 40-minute marker and we get closer and closer to the one-stop window opening. But Michael Doyen is going to pull the trigger a little bit early to get it done. And the reason for that is, I think, Mitch Bonaventura is starting to work his way through the GT3 Pro field. Trying to figure out what happened here with Nate Sides. I'm wondering if it was like just a long, like an overshot braking marker. Mulsanne corner, deceptively hard to brake in it correctly. It looks like, yep, he has also joined what Mitch Bonaventura did a lap earlier. And it just counts him as being crashed, even though he's not. Charles Rote's going to let Kenny Duval through. As Charles Rhodes has an off track that I think is going to lead to some damage here. Oh, nope. He just is slow. And try to get out of the way. Stay out of the way for everybody else. Sees that car come back on within reason, but it is going to see Ken Duval work his way around. And so the fight for those two picks back up again in a little, at least a little bit. Nick Terrell, Jason Larson still within a second and some change of each other. Closest battle, I think, on track, minus Kenny Duval trying to slowly catch up to Chris Kraus, who has had a very slow lap after an off track himself. Calvin Collado going to be the first of our LMP2 drivers to blink and come in for the pit stop. Trying to see where these drivers are. And how they finish up. Oh my gosh, Kenny getting a great run out of Tetra Rouge onto the Mulsanne. Chris Kraus going to pull out of the way, I think, and let him by. That's what it looks like. Or going to try to take the inside line. I can't tell. Still 800 separating to these two drivers. I definitely don't think this has been resolved as these two drag race down to the start-finish line. Oh my gosh, Chris Kraus flirting with that painted line, which is always a hard one to master. But they keep it together, and Chris Kraus leaving no room for Kenny Duval to get the edge in and the pass made. They go too wide through the Mulsanne corner. Oh, man, pushing Chris Kraus wide, but Kenny Duval has to find the better line. Chris Kraus has to sacrifice time to keep that car going the right direction, however, and that will lead to Kenny Duval coming out on top of that duel for the moment. Amongst this duel, however, is Nate Sides, Patrick Cantrell, and Nick Terrell gets around Jason Larson. Oh my God, Chris Kraus late on the brakes. Got to really push it. Gonna have to take the run off. Oh my gosh, Kenny Duval also almost forcing the issue as well. Oh, Kenny Duval is driving as well. Both these drivers do not look particularly happy at the moment. Let's see how this plays out. We'll see if there is a middle finger thrown out the window of this Corvette car, or vice versa, which I don't think it would be, but you never know. As they get into the braking zone of Mulsanne corner, both have good runs, good exits. Season continue to go on and up the order. Really, go on and hopefully move up the order. We're now properly within the window for the one stop for all of our GT or LMP2 drivers. And that will also see our GT3 drivers be available at any time from now, pretty much until the hour mark or just past it, to get their one stop done for the evening. Mitch Buenaventura 25 seconds ahead of Nate Sides, who currently rests in P2. Patrick Cantrell right behind him in P3, but traffic is going to spread them out just a little bit. Meanwhile, Chris Kraus, Ken Duval going to keep in a fight for the bottom step of the podium. Battle, however, spreads out as they continue. Mitch Buenaventura going to dive into pit lane to get his first stop of the night done. I think we're going to see a good handful of drivers work their way in as well. Nate Sides about to come up to the pit entry window I have to imagine there's not a whole lot of room for fuel margins. And yes, we'll see Nate Sides, Patrick Cantrell also come in. Oh my gosh, Chris Kraus holding on to that car in the background of that shot. What a save out of Chris Kraus as we follow Patrick Cantrell into pit lane. Joe Evers, Nick Terrell, the rest of the top 5 in that regard. We're going to see how well they do. Charles Rhodes labeled as crashed as we get into the end of... Oh, so this is between Indianapolis and Arnage. Oh, into the... Oh... Whoa, okay. Keeps it safe. I don't know why it got labeled as a crash then, but we'll find out later if we need to. Joe Evers diving into pit lane. Nick Terrell, I think he's going to stay out for at least one more lap. Has to figure out how to get this job done. However, he has to take a second pit stop, which does mean that he's going to push it for one more lap and then probably going to come in this next time by. As I try to figure out where we're all at. So, Nick Terrell ending up in second place as the result of the pit cycle. We'll see him probably dive in, and that'll cycle him maybe a little bit further down once that's sorted. Looking at GT3 Pro, of our 4 drivers, 3 are listed as being on track. And only 2 are still racing. Black flag for Chris Kraus for incident limits after getting another off track. So he will have to come down and serve that drive-through penalty. Joe Evers, Jason Larson also diving into pit lane for their first stop of the evening. And next couple laps, we'll have to see Tyler Roberts as well as Nick Terrell come in for LMP2s. And then we have about a handful of drivers now. Andre Saba, Richard Costanza, Chris Wells, as well as Adam Dahl and Chris Kraus, who will need to come in for their pit stops in the next couple laps time. It is definitely an interesting race here. Tyler Roberts finding his way back up into almost a fight with his teammate, Patrick Cantrell. Second separating these drivers as they get their cars moving in the right direction. Tyler Roberts, another driver, came in early to repair some damage with that quick repair. We'll see him in that fight once more. Trying to keep up. Michael Doyen also closing in on Chris Wells. This is not a battle for position. Chris Wells, one of the 3 drivers ahead of Michael Doyen, who has yet to come down pit road for their one mandatory stop of the race. We got about 10 more minutes before the end of that window. So we will see them probably come in here in a little while, ideally. Oh, Charles Rhodes, another driver to grab the black flag for incident limits. As well as Tom Leeson, who finds himself brushing with the barrier enough to be labeled as a crash. Let's see what happened here as he is coming around into Mulsanne Corner. Oh, braking and then catches that. Yep. And then over rotation. Yep. We'll see. Oh, he's out of the wall. I just labeled him as crash. That's nice. Good. Gets to drive away with it and keep on going the right direction. Chris Wells and Michael Doyen still really getting into the fight. It should theoretically may do well, maybe easy, maybe hard. We'll have to see here in a moment. Oh boy. That looks concerning. Is there a damage there? Let's look at Patrick Cantrell here. Coming out of Indianapolis into Arnage. It's going to be this incident here. as we look at it on, not really on board, but looking at Patrick Cantrell's, loses that one and just pulls it out of, abandons the corner, turns it around, gets it going the right way again. Nick Terrell going to dive in this time by for his first proper stop of the evening. Michael Doyen closing in on Chris Wells. Aaron Claybaugh closing in on Michael Doyen. 2 seconds in total separate these three drivers. And the gap is closing between really all three of them. Great exit out of Michael Doyen going on to the second part of the Mulsanne corner, or Mulsanne chicane. Mulsanne straight. Coming from the first Mulsanne chicane to the second Mulsanne chicane, for my English works the right way. It's going to be interesting to see who has the better line and who has the faster speed. Oh my gosh, Aaron Claybaugh trying to see if he can get around as well. And opts against it. Going to tuck in behind Chris Wells as they get through the second chicane. But Aaron Claybaugh now looking to make the move to get around Chris Wells as well. Chris Wells, one of the few drivers who has not pitted in GT3, either Pro or Am. We got about 5 of them. Charles Rhodes and Chris Kraus have been down to serve their black flag penalties. Charles Rhodes just finishing up his, which finds him currently in 9th in GT3 Am. And a terrible exit out of Mulsanne corner is going to see Aaron Claybaugh right behind Michael Doyen for the overall lead of GT3. Which I think will be a stressful moment for both of them. Neither really battling in class. Aaron Claybaugh first race back after a long while with OMEC, from what I recall. And we have more rain on the way amongst all this. Let's take a look at that radar. It is going to be coming over the track pretty seriously here, and it's going to probably stick around the last 30 minutes, which is going to be frustrating for these drivers who just decided to get everything sorted and start picking up pace as they are able to do so. And it's going to be just taken away from them. Andre Saba coming in for his pit stop at the 55-minute mark. So one of 5 drivers, now there are 4 who have yet to come into pit. And it'll be interesting to see where he cycles out in relation to this battle we're seeing between Michael Doyen and Aaron Claybaugh. Let's see if I can ride along board with Aaron Claybaugh. Take a look as we get through a lap in this battle with Michael Doyen in the Corvette curves. Richard Costanza also diving in to get his pit stop done for the evening. Chris Wells, Adam Dahl, Chris Kraus all still need to come in for a pit stop. Andre Saba getting out, I think, ahead. Oh, maybe not yet. Yes, does beat Michael Doyen out of the pit cycle. 27.87 seconds for Andre Saba versus the 39.58 of Michael Doyen. Michael Doyen has to make up now, I believe it's about a second and a half, or a few, almost 10 seconds, excuse me. Now, between now and the end of the race, 56 minutes elapsed. 34 minutes remain. So it's going to be definitely a tall task for Michael Doyen to get done correctly, especially when he's been being hounded by overall positions from Aaron Claybaugh. Richard Costanza cycles out really well as well into P3 of GT3 Am behind Chris Wells and Aaron Claybaugh. Trying to find what I can. Chris Wells currently in second also. So fantastic showing from Chris Wells. I believe if he finishes over 2 positions ahead of Tom Leeson, he ties up the season in the vacuum that there isn't another drop round that changes the points. And if he gets above 2 positions ahead of Tom Leeson, he gets the win in the category. So something to keep an eye on in these closing stages where Chris Wells cycles out relative to Tom Leeson. Michael Doyen, Andre Saba also in a battle, though the pit cycle seems to have really swung in the favor of Andre, who looks like he's almost undercut by just pitting shorter. LMP2, the big old battle for the lead of the championship, probably comes to an end as Kevin Hayes is not with us this evening in terms of racing out on track. So that battle between those two drivers, unfortunately relegated to the drop rounds and the previous week's performances to figure out where they finished with each other. I believe if they finish correctly, we should see, I think, Nate Sides getting around Nick Tyrrell. Sorry, no. Nick Tyrrell getting ahead of Kevin Hayes. And then Patrick Cantrell keeping his spot on the podium as well. I think, I remember that right. Or Nate Sides keeping the podium. My brain has gone for the day, so bear with me. It has been a long day full of doing stuff, and I am exhausted. Keeping up with this battle here, Aaron Claybaugh making the look into Indianapolis. More rain hitting the track as this track once again is getting wetter and wetter by the minute. Indianapolis corner successfully managed for both of these drivers in these Porsches. We're going to stay on this battle between these two because it's really the big thing going on right now. Big run out of this corner from both of these drivers. And they try to figure out where they want to be. One thing I find super interesting is how much these drivers want to take the middle line, but seem to be losing time in doing so because of the paint catching up the wheels and the traction control having to work overtime to make this car keep going the right direction. Which is fascinating. 1 hour down, 30 minutes to go. And we are coming really rapidly to the end of the Season 12 finale at Le Mans. And Andre Saba lost 7 seconds, almost 8 seconds, coming into this area just now. So Michael Doyen right ahead of him. This battle is going to run down to the wire. Let's find out what happened here because he had a really solid lead as a result of the pit cycle. We're coming through the Porsche curves. Too much rotation. Sees him bounce off the wall there. Slides twice. Gets that car going again. We're going to see if he has any damage. It doesn't look like it's anything too serious. He doesn't have a meatball. We'll see how much time this ends up costing him. 1 second now between Michael Doyen and Andre Saba. And less than half a second between Michael Doyen and Aaron Claybaugh. Chris Wells diving in for his pit of the evening. Ken Duvall labeled as crashed amongst all this as well. But I want to watch these three drivers keep up for a minute. See, we ride along board with Aaron Claybaugh in that Porsche GT3 and see what we see out the front windscreen. When I say windscreen, but windscreen is, I think, is what I was trying to say. With this Luigi helmet as they get through Mulsanne once more. Chris Kraus. Second black flag of the evening for incident points, I believe. And Michael Doyen getting around Andre Saba in the exit of Tetra Rouge. I want to see this happen, because we were kind of looking at the whole thing, and somehow I did not see it very well. But that's the spray for you. I think Michael Doyen was just so much more aggressive. And I wonder how much that damage that car is feeling for Andre Saba, as he's now been passed by both Michael Doyen and Aaron Claybaugh in one run of the Mulsanne Straight. Chris Kraus serving his penalty at the moment as well. Keeping up with all these, trying to keep up with all these drivers. Rest of the field, pretty spread out. Top 5 in each class is going to be Mitch Buenaventura, Nate Sides, Kelvin Collado, Patrick Cantrell, and Joe Evers for LMP2. GT3 Pro, Michael Doyen, Andre Saba, and Kevin Medina, as well as Matthew Markley. And GT3 AM is going to be Aaron Claybaugh, Richard Costanza, Chris Wells, Tom Leeson, and Adam Dahl. Well, after the pit cycle, Tom Leeson is now only one position behind Chris Wells. Pretty large gap between the two of them. But points-wise, they are right next to each other. So I don't know that it's going to be enough in a vacuum if we don't have to worry about another round of drop rounds, another set of drop rounds. There will not be another point, or I don't think there's enough points for Chris Wells from where he stands to make up the difference. Andre Saba labeled his crash and has jumped to the pits and I think has disconnected. I want to find out what happens here. Gets passed by Aaron Claybaugh not too long ago, going in to Indianapolis corner, pushing really hard to try to make up some time here. Over rotates again, same style as the last time. And does he just park it from there? He seems to. And that is going to bring the GT3 Pro podium for the championship to a close, as if Andre Saba doesn't finish, he doesn't get points, which means the lead extends for Michael Doyen in the GT3 Pro championship and will likely be the winner of tonight's race. Tom Leeson, individual I've been talking about. Good catch there, Tom Leeson. Keeps it going the right direction. Charles Rhodes also with another black flag. We'll see him working his way through to get that served as well. Chris Kraus with another black flag so soon? Maybe a speeding penalty? Interesting. Michael Doyen and Aaron Claybaugh separated by a second once again. Closest battle on track as we kind of have been talking through the other pieces of the race and the broader scope of the championship battles as they come to a close. But this battle on track between these two drivers still within a second of each other, and Aaron Claybaugh still trying to find the pace he had earlier. Was ahead of Michael Doyen by a decent margin. Lost that time due to a spin. Now has clawed his way back to make it happen again and retake over the GT3 overall lead. Tom Leeson and Adam Dahl labeled as crashed. No, I saw this one. Tom Leeson, not really labeled as crashed. Adam Dahl, I don't know if it's actually labeled as crashed. Oh, I wonder if it's coming into Arnage or somewhere else. Oh, brakes on the paint even more. Just gotta see him go sliding out. Nope. Doesn't crash, thank goodness. But we'll see him slow down a little bit and create even more of a gap to Tom Leeson in front of him. Oh my gosh. Michael Doyen sliding this car all around. And this is going to be an interesting one. Still a second and a half between these two drivers. Closest battle on track. Second closest, Joe Evers and Nick Terrell, who Nick Terrell coming in a lap after Joe Evers sees him sit just behind him in P6. after a pretty up and down race for Nick Terrell and his podium chances. Either way, gets points, which means that he will likely be extending his lead in the LMP2 championship for the final race of the season. We'll get some pretty good points from it as a result. Chris Kraus labeled as crashed. Oh, God, this is a sketchy place to do this. Okay. Cool. Has plenty of room to do that and where he's not going to be causing problems for other cars. That is a Tommy Leeson? That is a Tommy Leeson. Tom, can't park there. Adam Dahl getting around Tom Leeson for position. Now we are back to the idea of if Tom Leeson loses any more spots, Chris Wells could take over the championship for GT3 AM. It is now the most important thing to watch on the racetrack at the moment, as Charles Rhodes calls it for the evening. And we are, or at least gets out for the moment in terms of chat. With 20 minutes to go, we are watching race, the volume, not the volume, something unfold. All right. Oh, man. Adam Dahl keeping that out of the wall, which gives the position back to Tom Leeson. Come back at just the right moment. I took a brief moment to look at a couple things, make sure I was all organized for something else I have going on. So forgive me. As the race slows down a little bit, we watch along with these two drivers, which are the closest fight on track between these two. I think it's basically just a race of survival for these ones as well. Tim Schafer labeled as crashed, but seems to be moving pretty all right. So I don't know if it's actually that much of a crash. But the battle for GT3 GT3 AM still remains to be undecided. If Tom Leeson can keep at least 1 to 2 spots behind Chris Wells, he at least either wins by 1 point or ties. But he has to keep that gap and fall no further. Otherwise, he does run the risk of ending up losing the championship unless the drop rounds state that they gain or lose more points in other ways. 15 minutes still to go. And I would say a interesting 15 minutes for the championship. And I think one of the more rough for the drivers who have spent the past hour and 12 minutes slogging their way through Le Mans' treacherous corners in treacherous conditions. I'll take a quick look again at the radar. Yeah, never really... Oh, Adam Dahl as well. Keeps it out of the barrier. That's fantastic. Oh, well, I spoke too soon. Had kept it out of the barrier. And Mitch Bonaventura is labeled as crash. Is this an actual crash, or is this just him being slow again? Yeah. Oh, nope. That's a spin. Keeps out of the barrier, though. There's a car right behind him, though. You can hear the engine of that vehicle. That'll be of Michael Doyen, who just got passed for the overall lead of the race. Or no, sorry, just got passed to be lapped by the LMP2 field. Now Butch Bonaventura trying to keep his lead going. 15 seconds between himself and Nate Sides. And has been running a little bit slower these past few laps, which has seen that gap go from 25 that it was earlier down to only 15. So, getting the feeling, trying to figure out what's going on and what's happening in these closing stages. Aaron Claybaugh still trying to chase down Michael Doyen for the GT3 overall lead. Still sees himself 1.23 seconds behind, setting his personal best. Sorry, Michael Doyen setting his personal best of 4:30.38. And keeping ahead there. Chris Kraus labeled as crashed. Keeps it together, though. Oh, man, and now they're getting into more lap traffic with Nate Sides working his way through. Nick Terrell setting the fastest lap of the race this most recent time by with a 4:11.58. This track is, I think, starting to dry out just a little bit as they've continued to have very light to minimal rain. So I look at the radar. Yep, had a brief spell of dry. Oh, my gosh, Aaron Claybaugh running this real wide but keeping it together. Not, I think, dry enough to put on dry tires, however, but definitely drying out as the race comes to its natural conclusion. And I'd have to imagine this is probably one that I think most people will write up as not the most fun race of the season. I would not blame them. Tom Leeson labeled as crashed again. Oh my gosh, what happened here? We see him, we were joined with him as it happens. First couple ones, he was loose early on. Seems to keep it together. Oh, too much rotation there. Hits the curbing and just slowly slides it around. So he gets that car going again, keeps himself ahead of Adam Dahl, and we'll see himself stay where he is, one spot behind Chris Wells, which means he should, again, if there's no craziness with the podium, Mitch Bonaventura labeled as crashed. there damage there or just another slide and spin going into Indianapolis? Oh. Yep, just a spin. As he keeps that car going the right direction. All right. Coming down to the final 10 minutes. And we're going to keep up, say, the battle that rages on. Michael Doyle and Aaron Claybaugh battling it out for overall lead. Mainly just seeing whether or not Aaron Claybaugh is going to pull the trigger to try to make a pass around Michael Doyen, as it's the only battle, or I'd say relative battle, that's within a second of each other. Everyone else really spread out, which makes it so that way it's a little bit quiet on my end. Man. All right. Final 10 minutes. I will say the season has been interesting. And I'm excited to see what the season 13 ends up doing. Or what we end up doing for season 13, which hopefully should be soon. Plus, if we bring back the illustrious Osborne Formula Ultimate Challenge with some new ownership. Oh my gosh, Eric Claybaugh, no. Right at the end there. Spins it. Gets it back going again. But that brings about, I think, the end to the final battle between Michael Doyen and Aaron Claybaugh for overall positions. And I think Doyen and Claybaugh are talking about it on the radio as we speak. But with that, we talked for about the last 10 minutes. I really enjoyed a big portion of the season, and especially the ability to commentate for it. And I think it's always very bittersweet when we get to the end of a season and you are, following along with all these drivers, seeing how they improve over the course of a season as well. The ones that you see week in to week out, and watching, Calvin Collado as well as Patrick Cantrell end up on the top 4 here, showing their consistency in the wet, I think has been pretty fantastic. I think a heck of a recovery drive from Nick Terrell. I'm super curious if he can keep working away at the time, but I don't think he has enough time left to regain the pace needed to get back into the top 4. Get back in the top 4, but get back into closer to where he started. He is down 3 positions, but both Calvin Collado, Mitch Buenaventura starting where they finished. Oh, Adam Dahl also hit with the black flag for incident limits. And unfortunately, I think also Tim Schaefer. Beans. Both these drivers hit with black flags within the closing stages, which will give them both penalties, drive-through penalties. Thankfully not too bad as they keep going. But unfortunately, I think makes their days go from bad to worse. Really not bad to worse, but definitely makes it harder for them. We have had such a high I think it's really interesting to me. The biggest attrition rate I think I've seen all season has been this race. We started with 24 drivers, and we are, I think, going to finish with 15 of those 24. So. Heck of a slide on midsides there. Just kind of been watching along for the moment as I think kind of gather some thoughts towards the end here. Keeping up with the final, I think, battle we get to watch on track for the evening. Chris Wells and Tom Leeson. And as they stand, if nothing else changes in the last closing minutes here, we have about, I think, 2 laps in the last 5 minutes. This one that we're on for these drivers, and then one more, depending on when Mitch crosses the start-finish line. And Chris Wells, Tom Leeson duking it out to try to see what they can finalize here, see where the drop points or drop rounds bring them. These are both very great overall finishes as well. I think 4 and 5. Yeah, P4 and P5 overall, which nets them some really solid points. And I wonder whether or not it will be enough, as Tom Leeson also has to come down to pit lane. I'm not sure why. What happened? Oh, I wonder if he didn't fuel enough. Interesting. So Tom comes out where he came in earlier. And that will, I think, effectively keep him at the same pace, but a pretty far way back from Chris Wells at this point. Not that he was very close to begin with, but even further now as a result. And we'll see him finish there. I'm super curious if the points for tonight, what changes as a result of the points tonight. Because in theory, I think Tomlinson continues to succeed by one more point and extends that gap to 3 points if there are no other drop rounds to change those numbers. And I believe Michael Doyen very handedly wins the GT3 Pro Championship, as both competitors that he was racing against have dropped out of the race. I think one disconnected. Kevin Medina, I think, is still listed as being in car, but he's still in pit lane and has been for most of this race. Kelvin Collado still trying to keep up with Nate Sides, both on opposite ends of the straight, coming into, I think, Mulsanne corner here. No, excuse me, the Mulsanne straight. The first part of the Mulsanne straight before the first chicane. No, Tim Schaefer. Labeled as crashed in the closing seconds. What happened? Okay, going into Arnage. I wonder if he just... No, blocked up though. You can see those car... Okay. Just locks it up. Thankfully, he keeps it moving the right direction. Nicely done. All right. Believe we're on the white flag already. Let me make sure that's the case. No. Right? Aren't we? Maybe not. Maybe we aren't on the white flag. Tom Leeson crashed? Is that also real? No. He just had a bit of a moment, I assume. All right. Let's see where we end up. This is the checkered flag or the white flag. I think it's the checkered flag. Yep. Checkered flag as Mitch Buenaventura comes across, our winner for tonight, and will find himself on the sharp end of the stick finally after many races here, especially this season, where Mitch Buenaventura has struggled to find a solid finish. Nate Sides going to come home P2, and Kelvin Collado going to round out that podium in LMP2. Aaron Claybaugh, Michael Doyen, going to be the only GT3 Pro driver out on track tonight to come home P1, both in class and overall. Adam Dahl going to finish 5th from GT3 AM, almost a lap down from the rest of, beginning the pair of cars that finish a lap down, Adam Dahl, Chris Kraus of the rest of the GT3 AM field. And so we'll see Michael Doyen lead home the podium for, really be the podium for GT3 Pro. And we'll see Aaron Clayball, Richard Costanza, Chris Wells, Tom Leeson. Both. As Michael Doyen secures his championship victory in GT3 Pro. Aaron Clayball coming around the final couple chicanes, going to take home his first win in GT3 AM. And Richard Costanza, Chris Wells, Tim Schaefer, Tommy Leeson also going to start working their way down to round out the podium there. Charles Rhodes has come back out to finish the race. One final lap to take to his final checkered flag for the season. His final checkered flag before he is off to do other things, unfortunately, away from OMEC. Unfortunately, he's not in a booth where I can pull him in and talk to him. Maybe he'll hop in after. We'll see. A pretty quiet night, I think, all the ways around. As we get through the final couple drivers who have yet to finish. Chris Wells comes across in third in GT3 AM to secure his spot as the P2 finisher in the championship for GT3 AM. Tom Leeson working his way around Indianapolis into Arnage to take home P4 in tonight's race and P1 in the AM championship. As the rain begins to fall once more. All right. Keeping up. Last couple of drivers. Charles Rhodes coming home in 7th. And rounding out our 7 GT3 AM finishers. And Tom Leeson going to finish and round out our podium. We'll get some results. And we'll talk to a couple people. Call it an evening. So, results for tonight. Start up with LMP2 as Tom Leeson pulls it into the gravel, causes that car an evening. Mitch Ventura coming home with the win. Nate Sides coming home in second, a few seconds behind. Kelvin Collado, Patrick Cantrell, Nick Terrell going to round out those top 5. Joe Evers, Jason Larson, and Tim Schaefer going to be 8 drivers that take the checkered flag. Both Tyler and Sean Roberts are going to finish multiple laps down and do not take to the finish. GT3 Pro, pretty quick grid there. Michael Doyen taking home the win. The only finishing driver, Andre Saba, Matt Markley, and Kevin Medina all finishing many laps down after unfortunate accidents in the back half of the race for Andre Saba and then issues early on for both Matt Markley and Kevin Medina. GT3M, it's going to be our winner. It's going to be Aaron Clayball, his first race of the season. Going to take home the win. Minute ahead of Richard Costanza. I don't know that he's supposed to be an AM. I know he got labeled as an AM, but I don't know that he's supposed to be anymore. Chris Wells, Tom Leeson, going to be the 4 drivers finishing on the lead lap. Adam Dahl, Chris Kraus, Charles Roach going to be the 7 drivers that take to the finish as well. Wesley Woods, Ken Duvall, and Landon Orr also going to be a DNF for tonight in the rather rough terrain that we got here. Let's see if Aaron Claybaugh is here. We'll talk to Aaron Claybaugh for a little bit about the race. Maybe. I had Michael Doyen. All right, let's talk about Michael Doyen first. Michael Doyen, welcome to the broadcast booth. Congrats.
What's going on
the win,
you, sir,
in both today's race, as well as I believe you have secured your championship in the GT3 Pro Division.
It appears to be that way. I'm just pretty surprised because the season started off kind of shit for me. My first 3 races, I just had incidents. But then from there on out, just doing a lot of practice, a lot of pushing, and it ended up working out in the end.
Fantastic stuff. Were you concerned going into tonight knowing that there was rain at Le Mans?
Only a little bit. So Rich and I started practicing Le Mans, and then we started practicing the wet. We felt like we were pretty comfortable in the wet. I was just surprised to see some of the other people, like Saba, for a little while. I was watching him, and he looked like he was going to have the pace. And then when he came out of the pits, and I was about 8 seconds behind him. I got a little nervous for a minute, but then he had an incident, so I was able to close the gap pretty quick and then just kind of get around him from there and secured the dub.
Fantastic stuff. What would you say has been the key to your success with the championship over the course of the season, if you have one?
Practice and consistency. Remaining calm under pressure, like Claybaugh. He was definitely pushing me, and I wasn't trying to push all my braking markers to the limit or anything like that, because for me, my battles with Saber and Medita, so I didn't want to have an incident and have one of them get by me. So I didn't want to give Claybaugh P1, but I wasn't gonna kill myself in order for him to keep him behind. So somehow it worked out in the end. I feel a little, kind of bad because I did have a wiggle, which threw him off his line.
Was that right at the end there?
That, yeah, I think it was like the third to last lap.
Yeah, I remember catching on the broadcast, and I was like, oh, no, I didn't see the wiggle from you, though, which makes more sense now. Just trying to figure out how that happened.
Yeah. He said he followed me, but regardless, I feel like that's, my fault. I went offline, and, that's on me.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things if it goes both ways, because he could have also not followed you, and he did.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, true.
But will we see you hopefully back on the season championship next season here when we get back after the Christmas break or whenever break we have going up, and season 13? You're going to run it back to back?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm going to attempt it. I'm going to get Richard up here as well.
I get the feeling. I mean, I might as well. Hey, we'll break him in. We'll talk with both of y'all. Veterans United. Fantastic stuff.
Hey, Fed.
Howdy. How has the prep for your season been going, Richard specifically, and then also Michael, come back to you as well. I know whenever I talk to, I feel like either one of you, I end up feeling like I talk with both of you because you both reference each other so much, and it's so cool to see. What is that training ground like?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this earlier. Me and Mike have been more or less best friends for 20 years. We live near each other. We both served in the military. We both work in the same fire department together. I'm a Marine. Mike's a soldier.
Right. I'm a Marine as well.
And, oh, hell yeah, Fed. So, I guess you know the deal then. We hold each other accountable. We set plans each week. We follow through with those plans. And just this year, we've really tried to lean in on each other and just push each other. And the technique and the development behind the wheel has been fantastic this season.
I would say a P1 in pro for you, Michael, and then the P2 for you, Richard, for tonight, and then fantastic results. I think you're still end up very solidly in P3, if I remember correctly, in the championship for you as well, Costanza, especially, maybe fourth, excuse me.
It was fourth. It was a tough point deficit to recover from. My work schedule definitely interrupted plenty of my races, but talking with Mike this afternoon, I said, I have nothing to lose tonight. I'm going to go all out, and with only 6 or 7 races. I think I was 3 races back on the leaders, so I know that I would have been up there on the sharp end, and I was super happy with my season still.
Heck yeah. Well, I will let y'all get to your post-race celebrations here, unless you have more to add, Michael, now that I'm thinking about it.
No, that's gonna be it, dude. We're just super happy to be here. This season's been incredible for both of us. We both feel like we've just improved on pace and consistency, especially Richard. He set up his triples, and ever since then, I feel like he's just been a lot more consistent and a lot more confident in the seat. So hats off to him. His pace and everything is just completely improved this season. It's awesome.
Heck yeah. Well, I'll let you guys get to your post-race celebrations. It seems like your work has been paying off, and I could not agree more. Also, absolutely understand with the accountability there. I think that's a huge part of what makes teams great across the board. It's something that I see in my endurance team, which we don't, we're mostly not military members, but I feel like it's something that we pull. Like, I'm super familiar with it, but it's interesting to see non-military members also really benefit from accountability and that sort of thing. So it's cool. It's always fun to see and how much it affects someone's ability to develop.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Absolutely.
But all right, I'll let you guys get back to your post-win celebrations. Thank you guys very much. Congrats again on your wins and stellar podium finishes for both of you. And I hope to see you guys back here next season doing the same darn thing.
Absolutely. Thank you, man. We
Absolutely.
appreciate you.
Thanks again, Fen. Much appreciated.
Of course, guys. I hope y'all have a good evening. And we'll go over and talk to tonight's winner in GT3 AM, Aaron Claybaugh, if he's still floating around.
All right, you as well. Have a good Thanksgiving.
You as well.
Thank you.
Alrighty. And Aaron, are you around?
Hey, how's it going?
Congrats on your GT3 AM win and second overall. You're giving Michael Doyen a real run for the money.
Yeah, appreciate that. I would have loved, honestly, you know, the AM win, it feels good, but man, it would have felt a lot better to pull off the overall. Man, Michael was fast. I was just trying to bide my time there, saving fuel because I messed up the fuel fill at the beginning of the race. I had to pit a little early. It was a little short. Was just kind of biding my time, and unfortunately, just through this the what is it, the spray behind his car, I just barely caught a tire off, and that was all she wrote.
That was like what the 3 laps from the end, the spin out of the S's.
Yeah.
Yeah, we caught that, and I was just like, oh no, because I thought you two were gonna. I imagined there was gonna be a last lap shootout for the two of you, because I had kind of expected, especially seeing you push ahead of him earlier on and then hanging out behind him. I was like, I'm wondering if there's not a late race strategy being developed here. So it's unfortunate we didn't get to see that, come to its natural conclusion. This is your first race of the season, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah. It's been a couple months since I've been here. Normally it's kind of hard to make it on Tuesdays because it's a little bit earlier, but with it being Thanksgiving week, was able to squeeze some time in and jump in here and race with these guys. It's always a blast coming here and racing. It's always a good time.
Heck yeah. Well, are we going to see you next season anytime? I'm guessing because of the time slot, it might be a little bit hard to see you.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the part of the selling point that really, really drew me this week was I saw that it was going to be a wet weather race. I'm probably one of the weird people out there that actually enjoy racing in the rain.
Oh, no, I'm
so
with
when
you.
I saw that, when I saw that, I was like, all right, equals the playing field a little since I'm not here every week. But yeah, no, I hope I can make it out to a couple next season. We'll see.
I hope so as well. We might see you, I think, maybe in the pro division based on how tonight's racing went. But either way, I'm looking forward to it. I hope you have a blast. I'm also going to grab Tom before it gets too late here and talk with him about his GT3 AM championship win. So,
all right.
Anything else we need to talk about tonight?
Happy Thanksgiving. No, that's everything, man. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
You as well, man. Thank you very much. I hope you have a good night.
All right. See you.
And last but certainly not least, Tom, congrats.
Thank you.
How was it?
I don't know how everything shakes out now, but that was rough.
Based on the mental math I was doing in my head, based on where you all finished, if there isn't another drop round being applied or the drop rounds don't change for the two of you, you finish exactly 1 point ahead of Chris.
Interesting. Well,
because you finished one.
I'm definitely not getting a safety bonus today, and Chris might.
Ooh, yeah, that's gonna be an interesting one too. I didn't think about that, but that makes sense. I believe he is gonna get that safety bonus, so you might be tied, actually.
Isn't it 2 points for the?
Oh, safety bonus is 2 points. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it could be
Ooh.
right down to the wire. I don't. It truly is all down to like how the drop weeks shake out. But,
Yeah.
well, I took a couple of gambles there. I had to do a quick splash and dash at the end. I was really trying to fuel save, but after I lost it in the Porsche curves,
Hmm.
I was like, okay, I can take fuel now. If I skip tires the whole race, I can maybe get away with it. I was pushing, just try to stay ahead of Dahl,
Yeah.
and my tires were gone. I think I finished with like just over, maybe under 70% on all of my tires.
Jeez. No, that in wet weather tires is pretty much Dunyan rings.
Yeah, so that might explain all of the little spins and incidents I had in the last I don't know, last fifth of the race.
Certainly. But I'd say otherwise a pretty fantastic season, all things considered, yes?
Yeah, it's been great. I'll definitely be back next season. Who knows what I'll be driving?
We'll have to see what I think we're going back to the GT3, GT4 format for next season, which will be, I think, amazing to see again.
Yeah, it's some fun racing.
It always is.
I've been on the other side of it. I've been on the GT4 side of it. Never been on the GT3 side of it, so I'm looking forward to it.
I think you'll enjoy it. I'm always a fan of the GT4s though, so I always find like I like the GT3s. I don't think there's anything particularly exciting to me about GT3s. Where I think the momentum-based driving, you end up trying to pull and maneuver and maintain speed that you get with the GT4s, and then the downforce, really learning your throttle application like you would like a Formula car in the prototypes is both really rewarding to me, and I feel like the GT3 is just kind of like the redheaded stepchild of both of those ideas.
Yeah, a bit. I did a season of GT4 driving before this, and like I had a great time. I throwing the Mercedes around, but it was before the tire update, so I haven't done too much of it after that. So I'm keen to see how that shakes out, because I think it'll be interesting to see now, especially like the first couple of laps. You get some really talented guys in the GT4s. I think they'll be like taken off down the road pretty quick.
Yeah, but we'll have to see here in a few weeks' time. Fantastic racing all the same. I would say consistency seems to get everyone everywhere. I would say
for sure.
Finishing still is a very solid one. I think it'll be interesting to see where the points shake out at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's soon.
Yeah. Well, fingers crossed. Let's go Buzz Landon to like fire the episode.
Here, let me add him. See if Landon will do it right now. All right.
And I also want to thank you for all the broadcasts.
Oh, of course, man.
You've been doing a great job, man.
I've been doing all right.
No, come on. It's been great. It's been awesome watching all this. Like I go watch them back like every race.
This one, I think, is the one I had to try to figure out how to fill time with because of the amount of just space between everyone because of the way the racing was happening. So this might be a little bit of a slower one than the previous weeks, but
if I'm totally honest, I had it open on one of the monitors so I could, try and keep track of like where Chris Wells was. And I noticed me and Adam Dahl were getting a lot of airtime because we were the only people within 5 or 6 seconds of each other.
Yep.
So,
that was for a while.
I appreciate it nonetheless, man. Like,
of course,
the broadcasts have been great. It's been really fun to watch.
Yeah, man, it's there's something I love about the vibe of this community, especially like everyone here, both the people I see very frequently in the chat as well as the people that I see on the race days. It's just such a fun place, and I'm super stoked to be able to be like, here is the cool place that I get to hang out and spend time with, and they've put up with me long enough to let me yell words into a microphone.
Hell yeah.
So
I mean, it's been a great time hanging out in like the party room. I didn't think I would like it as much as I did, but like just laughing and joking, eating well, there's a race going on is a really good time.
Yeah, that's I've always loved being the party chat when I was on the racetrack with everyone before I took over the booth responsibilities.
Yeah.
So
Well, I hope we see you on the track a couple of times, maybe next season.
I will. I'm gonna make it a point, I think, next season to try to make the Monday practices. I need to get back into racing more because I've like done zero racing in the past like 2 months, minus the Le Mans 24 and then like the. I think that was it. I don't even remember what the other ones I've done recently. So
it's a hell of a thing to jump back into after not racing for a while.
Well, I mean, like it's what I love endurance racing. That's like the thing I do.
Yeah.
So like anything less than 3 hours, I'm like, it's all right. But it's like, a 6-hour race with, one of my good teammates on the endurance team and we're just, having fun with it. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Or a 24 where we, I wake up at 3 a.m. to do stints. Fucking mint.
Yeah, for sure.
I love it. So.
Yeah. I want to jump on one of the 24-hour races before everything's said and done, but I've had a bunch of people like, hey, like tap me and say like, hey, like you want to come race with us? And then last minute everything falls apart.
Oh
like,
man.
2 people bail. Yeah. But like you get around one.
Yeah. Well, I might be. I'll keep you in mind for a group for the Spa 24 in like a couple weekends time.
Oh yeah.
Because I would love to do it, and I get the feeling I don't think I'll have enough people in my endurance team to do it, so I may be outsourcing, and basically creating my own team. But we'll see.
All right.
But I will let you know if that happens, or if you still need a team, it'll be probably a prototype, just for the record.
Sounds good.
Sweet. So, all right, I'll let you get to your celebrations of either first or second in the GT3M championship podium. We'll find out
One
tomorrow.
decidedly celebrating more than the other. But we'll see.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll find out soon here. And I wish you a happy Thanksgiving. And
You too, man.
I hope to see you back here on the podium, hopefully more next season.
Fingers crossed. We'll see.
Heck yeah. All right. Well, I'll let you get to it and have a good night.
Thanks, man. You too.
We'll wrap up this broadcast. All right. That has been Tom Leeson, as well as the rest of the podium finishers for both the championship as well as the race itself. Huge thank you to everyone who takes part in these races over a weekly basis. Osborne Motors Endurance Challenge, genuinely one of my favorite leagues to be a part of in any form. Raced here for a number of seasons before taking over the broadcast booth, and still some of my favorite places, some of my favorite racing that exists. So I think we're going to have a schedule here soon. And until then, I have been Fettuccini. I will see you all very soon for season 13 of Osborne Motors Endurance Challenge. Ideally, I'll be back in the booth. But if I'm not, you'll see me on track. So have a good night, everyone. Thank you very much for watching, as always. And we'll see you all real soon.